bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your
A warm
attention.
welcome to each one of you joining us today on CBC Television, and it is the Sector Spotlight, a program that is being debuted today, looking at different sectors of life, and that will be having different sectors hosted on this program. That is to say agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and different other services that are provided. And so this is a platform for those that are in different sectors of life. Is it business? Is it transportation? Is it whatever it is that you do? This is a platform for such as yourselves. And today being World Food Day, today the 16th of October, it's where we commemorate the World Food Day. And this day, the 16th, is, did you even know that 16th of October is a World Food Day? Is there something like that? Do you have those questions that why talk about food? Where did this come from, and what not? And so this is what we focus on today. And the theme of this year's World Food Day is actually talking about the fact that we need to prepare, have a secure food security, if you like, and it is where we discussing issues that relate to the food that there is, and as Zambia. Of course, each and every country, they have different themes for this year. But for us as Zambia, our theme is Zambia at 60, promoting the right to food for better life and future through consumption of local food, and as well as the future, as it were. So Zambia at 60, promoting the right to food for better life and future through consumption of local foods. About the day itself, 16th of October, it's a World Food Day that was founded on the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations in 1945. It was formally observed for the first time in 1981 with the theme Food Comes First. And the United Nations General Assembly endorsed the day in 1984. The collective action observed across 150 countries worldwide makes World Food Day one of the most celebrated days on the UN calendar, promoting food awareness of anger and action to the future of food, people, and the planet. The theme for this year, Zambia at 60, as well as security for the food itself and whatnot. And so joining me in studio is no other than Mr. Matthews Muhuru from the Vice President's Office. Is actually the Deputy Executive Director for National Food and Nutrition Commission. Is right here with us from the VIP office. Mr. Muhuru, it's a good afternoon to you, and it's a pleasure to have you with us. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for hosting us this afternoon.
Wonderful, wonderful it is. And I know that today, it being a World Food Day, I know the Vice President was visiting the showgrounds where different local foods are displayed and whatnot. Did you have a chance to go there yourself?
Yes, from organizing, sleeping very late. Of course, you know how some of the state functions would require. And of course, I think up until I was coming to this place, I was at the event. So,
that's right.
So participating at that event, comes with a lot of pride as
That's
Zambia,
right.
because food means a lot of things. Food means culture. Food is identity. So as Zambians, once we celebrate such days and put our Zambian food on the map, reminding everybody that our own indigenous foods, has value, has more nutrients than what we are seeing even in supermarkets, becomes ideal. So celebrating together is ideal.
Mr. Muhuru, why food? I mean, I haven't taken time to think about the value of food. Why food? What's so special about food?
Very true. So I think for me, it's even more personal. I've worked in many spaces. I've worked in the health sector. I've worked in different sectors. But the moment I stepped into the food and nutrition space, it really resonated with my passion. It resonated with, I think, why I exist. Because without food is a matter of life and death. So when people are not well nourished, the likelihood that their future, their potential is affected is high. Because just look at probably the first what we call the first 1,000 days, which is between conception and the time that a child turns 2 years old. If you get the nutrition of that child wrong in this stage, some of the effects are irreversible. So right. You would find stunted growth comes in. So if a person is stunted, they would have low height for their age. They'll be short all their life. Exactly. So their brain development is also affected. Their brain size is smaller. Their immune system is affected, and they'll have to live with that all their life. And also, having seen what challenges Zambia has gone through, the droughts that we've experienced, and having participated firsthand, going to the people that are affected, looking at how devastated they become whenever there is food insecurity. For me, it was something personal that made me even look at my work, not just as work, but something that I have to do with all my effort. So food, coming back to your question, food is identity. You would identify the people of Western Province by food that is predominantly produced there and food that they will grow up eating. You look at other provinces, it's the same situation. But also world over, those are the same dynamics. You cannot remove their identity away from their food. And then also just practical situations here in Zambia, you would find that food also becomes a unifier. If the family comes together to eat, they might have spent their entire day doing their own errands, work, school, and other things, but food brings you together to eat, but also talk and even bond as a family. So food means a lot of things.
That's right.
So no wonder for us with the Vice President's mandate and her having the coordination role for all food and nutrition programs in the country, we are looking at getting Zambia to a food secure state, looking at the nutrition part of it so that people are not just eating shima or a mono diet that will also lead to other micronutrient deficiencies, because the situation is not so good and we need to improve on it.
You speak passionately about food. What exactly do you do in the Vice President's office? I know you're Deputy Director of Food and Nutrition.
Yes,
so
yes.
What exactly do you do in there?
So food, funny enough, is a multi-sectoral issue.
Yes.
So I had the introduction. Of course, this is a platform that brings different sectors to network. But of course, food is multi-sectoral. So you find that the Ministry of Agriculture has a role to play. You find the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries in Zambia has a role to play. The Ministry of Green Economy, that is looking at the environment, but also they have a stake in, the foods that is produced in our forest, the forest foods, and all that. They oversee all of that. And then food, you can't talk about, when you define food, you realize that also issues to do with water. Water is also food, according to the definition. So different sectors have a role to play. So our office brings all these sectors to a common ground.
That's right.
So the Ministry of Transport, for example, when food is being transported, how do they pass policies and standard operating procedures for different food handlers and transporters so that they don't expose food to conditions that will make that food lose its nutrients? How can also the Ministry of Infrastructure, help us with having proper infrastructure where food can be stored, food can be preserved, food can be, can recirculate within the economy and things like that. So our role is to bring all the different sectors who have a role.
So what you're saying is that the Vice President office is like a
coordination,
belt of all the ministries, government ministries involved in this, and because all the ministries run on food. If
exactly.
Food is the common factor for each one of them.
Exactly. And the Vice President's office has the convening power, the power that the Vice President holds. It's easier for her to call Minister A and Minister B and, of course, maybe push them a bit to improve on what we might need to improve upon as a country. Yeah.
And, of course, talking about World Food Day, we're talking about it has to be safe food, secure food, and preserved for the future. And so, looking at Zambia, we haven't been to war where there is, conflict and whatnot. People have to run and there's no food. Of course, we know that the World Food Organization, they target places where there is war, like you're talking of Ukraine, is it Gaza Strip, and different other places where food is provided. Yeah. So, as Zambia in the Vice President office, of course, we had the drought, like you mentioned. What exactly are you doing in terms of distribution of food, the affected areas? We know there are poor Zambians and those that are well off. Is it something that is given for free, or basically how is the VIP office? I know disaster management and mitigation. How do you do that in terms of food distribution?
Thank you for that question. So there are quite a number of angles or approaches that we're using. So whenever we have disasters and emergencies, of course, you see the Vice President's office through the disaster management unit coming in to take food to the people who are affected. And the whole purpose is to save lives. But also beyond that, there are other departments, including the resettlement department, where people would be resettled to certain areas and also given, spaces where they can grow food, and also starter packs which they can use like inputs and things like that. But away from disasters, just ensuring that there is productivity, and also ensuring that in our production, our food production, there is also food diversity. Many people do not understand that the differently colored food provide different nutrients. So a good example is if you have vegetables, let's say cabbage, the nutrients that you get from cabbage and the nutrients that you might get from dark green, the dark green vegetables, leafy vegetables, would be different nutrients. So the agenda is to ensure that, we are also collaborating with the Ministry of Agriculture, that as we produce maize, how do we also produce diverse foods that will be on people's plates? Beyond that, also just pushing the households that, look, the responsibility for food security at household level is your duty. So in as much as government has to come in to supplement whenever there is scarcity, but how do you also have backyard gardens that can help to complement, the other food purchases that you might have? You don't need to grow you don't need to buy all the food that you are eating at household level. How can you grow some of that? And it doesn't really need to take much. You have little space. You can use technologies that are being used now at the venue where we are having the commemoration. They're also demonstrating on hydroponics, small fish ponds that people can even have at household level, small livestock and things like that can complement people's diets are some of the things that we are also trying to push. We're trying to push people to go back to the backyard gardens. They were common back then, but nowadays you would not find them to be like that. Hence, any shock in the economy, if the prices go up, then the bigger burden to bear is with the household. So we're trying to push that we change the mindsets of people, we change our practices and our approaches, but generally also we get to know how to utilize these foods.
Diversification of food production. Do you see us through the Ministry of Agriculture achieving that? Of course, you said the Vice President office as a conveyor belt, talking to Ministry of Agriculture. Zambia is known for maize production. So do you see Zambians changing into these other different foods? How is that going?
Very good question. Very good question. That change, we need it more than ever. So, a good example is when we were affected by the drought the other year, farmers who had produced millet, sorghum, and maize, they had testimonies to come and say, look, our millet has survived, our maize has died. Why? Because of the amount of water that, the maize would really require. So, of course, the challenges that we've seen, and of reinforcing that with some efforts that are happening at subnational level through different platforms that we are using, we're hoping that this situation changes. I remember, hearing the Secretary to Cabinet, who's also the chair for the National Nutrition Coordinating Committee, indicating that places like the Northwestern Province, where people grew a lot of millet and sorghum. If you look at the Western Province, Kaoma areas, you realize that people grow a lot of, Western Province produces a lot of rice, cassava, sweet potatoes and things like that. But of course, you find that the same farmers, because they would hear of the subsidy programs that government would have, what would they do? They would abandon, some of the foods that they used to grow, which would be resilient, foods that would help them with their, nutritional needs and the like. But of course, I think government has relooked at some of the policies that were also contributing to this monoculture, or the maize-centric-ness of our food system. And we've seen now government, bringing up the CATSIP, of course the e-voucher coming back, so that the farmer has an option when they go to an agro dealer. They don't have to just pick a bag of maize, but they can demand what they want. And of course, I think the current Minister of Agriculture adding other, foods such as, the soya beans, adding, the actual groundnuts and other things to the, to the packages that they are giving. But so it takes time, but I think we're slowly seeing this, desire by Zambians to really grow more foods, more than, the market demands. But of course, we know that because of FRA buying, some of them would produce to sell to FRA, but they forget that they also have to produce for their own, household needs.
And I think that answers the question when you say the farmers are looking at FISIP, and of course, when the UPND government came into office, the price of maize rose, and then from what was there then, so then people knew that there is more money in maize than any other thing. So then that diversification production becomes a problem, because people are looking for profits, like you mentioned. So that it means how long will it take for the government to reorient and say, instead of helping the farmer to look at profit, that they'll look at sustainability. It's food that is secure, food that will last forever, for a long time. So how do you do that to reorient the mind of a farmer who is watching right now?
So the agency demands that we bring about that change now. So among the things that we've done also, we've come up with what we're calling the food systems transformation pathway. So as Zambia now, we are pushing the Ministry of Agriculture, for example, that as you give maize, can you also give biofortified products? So there is beans, there is the Mbereshi beans, there will be also the other, the vines for sweet potatoes and the like.
Okay.
So
let's try and pick this one.
Okay.
Hello, caller.
Hello,
Just
how
hold
are
on.
you?
All right, thank you. How are you, sir? What is your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Benson from within Lusaka.
Okay, Mr. Benson, we're talking World Food Day. What is your contribution or question to the conversation we're having with Mr. Amuro from the Vice President Office?
Yes, thank you so much. Welcome, sir.
thank you very much, and happy World Food Day to you.
Thank you so much. You too, sir. It's always good to engage with the Vice President's office. I have a list of questions, but let me just ask one. And this is to do with our food security and our national strategy. I want to just know our position. Because according to the FAO, over 1.8 million Zambians remain food insecure annually. So what strategic interventions is the Vice President's office putting in place to move Zambia from a food aid dependency cycles to becoming a net agricultural exporter within the SADC and the COMMESA region? Because we have an opportunity to make a lot of money in this area. So we look at like road infrastructures, railways, and all those things. Something that can just push the farmer and to ensure that they earn more dollars and ensure that even our economy improves, because we can take advantage of the situation.
Correct.
So that's my question.
All right, thank you so much for calling. We've taken note of that question.
Sure. Am I allowed to ask one more question?
You have another question? Please do that.
I can do it? Okay.
Yes, you can
My
do it.
next question is to do with the regional trade and export pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah. So given that over 70% of Zambians depend on agriculture for livelihood, how can Zambia transform this sector into a subsistence farming to structured commercial regional trade, especially with the growing demand from the DRC, Angola, Malawi, and Tanzania, where food deficits are rising at a rapid rate?
Yeah. Is that all?
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Stay tuned to the spotlight sector.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, sir.
There you have it, a mouthful of questions, Mr. Moro. The viewer there is asking about moving the farmers from subsistence to commercial, as well as us as a nation moving from, in terms of transport, with networking with other countries, us being land linked.
Exactly.
So how do we utilize these opportunities that are around us as a nation?
So let me talk about the first question. I'll address it in two ways. So there is the local demand for food, and now there is also this opportunity that we have with our neighboring countries demanding quite a lot of food from us. So government, through the Presidential Delivery Unit, for example, have come up with a plan. So they've noticed that the demand for maize, the demand for soybeans, and the demand for wheat has increased. So through the Presidential Delivery Unit, we have what the strategy they're calling 10.1.1. So the 10 stands for 10 million metric tons of maize. The 1 is 1 million metric tons of soybeans and 1 million metric tons of wheat. So the whole aim for this is to produce for the export market. But in as much as we are producing for the export market, there is also our own needs at country level, because we cannot ignore our needs as a country and, of course, push everything for export. So our own needs, this is where we are pushing for diversification. This is where we are pushing for production of different foods, pushing the households to also, embrace the small livestock, because, evidence has shown us that when people keep chickens, for example, the likelihood that they'll eat those chickens is high. The likelihood that they'll eat the eggs from the chickens is very, very high, and it will nourish their households. Whereas, even when they engage in production to export or to sell to FRA or other aggregators who have the capacity to sell outside the country, those efforts can still happen. So we are doing, it's a dual process that we are doing. One, get food and nutrition security for the country, and then now also push the export market. So the president, I think, has been quite deliberate to also push for beef exports. We are seeing the livestock sector, even with the 2026 national budget. I think the Ministry of Livestock and Fisheries has, put in more money that will help them to produce more beef, to produce more other foods, including fish itself, so that we, deal with the deficit that the country might have, but also prepare and position Zambia for the export market. So it has to be both. And then with the farmers, I think government has put in quite a lot of efforts to see how we transition some of the farmers that, have the capacity to even transform into commercial farmers.
Yes.
You would find all these subsidy programs that we have, and beyond that, government has also equipped every province with equipment and machinery, where an ordinary farmer can even go and rent the equipment, and you use the equipment on your farm to produce food, and you take it back at a very low fee. This is something that is new. Every district has been equipped with such kind of facilities, and then the Ministry of Agriculture is also equipping their centers of excellency in every province, so that they also focus some of the programs and the attention and the monies within those centers to make Zambia more productive, and we produce some of the foods that we have planned to do. And then also government is embracing partnerships, bringing in players and partners that can help us to transform our food systems, and also just preparing us to be competitive on the market, supply what the region might require.
That's right.
So quite a number of programs that government has put in place, and we're very happy that, of course, I think we will move in a very good direction. And maybe lastly on that as well, government has also noticed that rain dependence for agriculture is not helping the country, because each time you have an El Nino or you just don't have good rains, then the country would be food secure, like it becomes a food security threat. So government is putting in place other programs that will help us harvest the water, help us to have dams in different areas which are strategic for food production, and things like that. So quite a number of programs have been put in place.
Correct. So that means Zambia is well placed to
Indeed.
for food security.
Indeed. So
forward.
Zambia is more placed for food security. Zambia is better placed to produce more food, and the surpluses, are going to meet the demands.
I know, Mr. Muru, you are not from the Ministry of Agriculture, but we thought this year we have a bumper harvest as Zambia, and then of course other commentators would say it's not wise that food is exported. We need to secure ourselves. So do you think it's a good thing that when we have surpluses we export? Like you are answering that question from the caller who asked that will be connected.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything wrong with exporting, surpluses, because the whole reason why you have a surplus is that, a place where there is deficit somewhere which could exchange that.
And if the El Nino comes in again, whilst you have exported the surplus, it means how do you survive then with what?
Yeah, so the surplus has to be handled with a lot of care. So, for example, you need to work very closely with the Ministry of Green Economy. Green economy and the environment.
What are your thoughts?
Yes, sure.
Hello, caller.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. My name is Tabwe.
Okay, Mr. Kawe, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes,
sir.
you are through to the sector spotlight.
Okay. Good afternoon,
Mr. Muru.
gentlemen.
Good afternoon, sir.
President.
Thank
Good
you.
afternoon.
Today.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. My question starts with this. I first want to thank the Office of the Vice President for coming up with a program of giving out small holdings to enable Zambia or Zambians start producing their own food. Now the question is the program still there, and what is the procedure of one acquiring land so that they can be a producer of food for Zambia? Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Kawe, for that call. Mr. Muru, the viewer there is asking what is the procedure for them to acquire land through the Ministry of the Vice or through the Vice President's office. Yeah. And they want to grow more food.
They want to grow more food for the country. Yes. Yeah. So under the Vice President's office, there is a program called resettlement. So it's through that resettlement that, of course, people would be given land in different parts of the country, and then they are able to produce the food. So yeah, somebody can actually find that information on the website for the Vice President's office, and you just go on resettlement. I think all the information on what is required and what places have the different
also even the places are listed. Yes, where someone can get
indeed. And not so long ago, I think a month or two ago, there were even adverts in the papers, like asking people to apply for those resettlement schemes. So that
what do you say to someone that is watching and they want the Vice President office give them land, but it has to be around Lusaka, and then they turn it into a housing instead of what that thought. Hello, caller. Hello, caller. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
All right, thank you. Who are we talking to?
You're speaking to Gibson Nyirenda.
Mr. Nyirenda Gibson, you are through to Sector Spotlights. How do we help you? Do you have a question or contribution to make?
I just have a question.
Yes, sir. What's the question?
Yes, with climate change affecting rainfall patterns and drought pockets, what adaptive agriculture model is government supporting to ensure household level food security?
Correct.
Yes.
Is that all?
And another one is some African farmers have faced legal challenges in countries where pattern seeds control the market. How is Zambia protecting the rights of local farmers to freely keep exchange and multiple indigenous seeds without legal restrictions? Yes.
Thank you so much for those questions. Stay tuned as our guest responds to the question.
Okay.
Yeah. So, dear viewer, those of you that are watching and you want to make a contribution, the number is 0960741864, or you can call as well on 0974578988. Those are the numbers that you are calling. Mr. Muhuru, our caller there, the viewers, is asking to say, what foods are you promoting as government to promote household security?
Thank you very much. So I think, let me start with the first question. So indeed, climate change is here to stay.
Yeah.
And we have to be accountable to the effects and just the impact that climate change is having on just everything. So quite a number of approaches that we are looking at. So as I indicated, we're trying to move away from dependence on rain because we've seen that you would have maybe 2 years of good rainfall, and then the other year you have some stresses, and then it just shocks your entire food systems in the country. So the government is adopting a number of processes and approaches. So if you look at the budgets, for example, for 2026 for the Ministry of Water Development and Sanitation, you would realize that they are planning quite a number of dams alongside the Ministry of Agriculture as well. They would also put up strategic dams in certain areas so that we harvest some water, but also we conserve our water and just make sure that our population would have access to water for their agricultural activities. But beyond that, we are also, if people manage, or those that would manage to even go to the event where we are celebrating and where the Vice President is officiating, you would notice that we are also promoting other efficient technologies. So the use of hydroponics. So we have students from NRDC that have demonstrated, they've come up with hydroponics, of course, not using any soils, but just water, and some of those systems would use less water, and the waters, are not affected negatively. So yeah, I think those are some of the approaches. And then maybe to answer to the second question, let me just also indicate that this main celebration where the Vice President is officiating is also happening alongside another event. We are calling it the Food and Seed Festival. So the whole purpose of the Food and Seed Festival is to showcase the seeds that Zambia has to offer, the different indigenous seeds, the different indigenous foods, because the theme the theme that we've had, quite all right, the global space might have their own theme, which is talking about hand in hand for a better food and a better future. But for Zambia, we've taken it upon ourselves that every World Food Day, we are giving visibility to our own local food. We are giving visibility to our own indigenous seeds as well. Yes, so that we embrace them, because our great-grandparents, our grandparents, and even our parents, used to grow some of these seeds. They would recycle it and all those things. So,
as a rider to the question, Mr. Muhuru, of course, government coming up with those other initiatives of water gathering, harvesting, and promoting people that the farmers continue to produce, even using, is it winter maize? People have to use the boreholes, and of course, it's a cost. They have to use either fuel, or if it's solar, they'll say solar gadgets are expensive.
They're expensive, yeah.
If they have to use power or electricity, there is load shedding.
Yeah.
So how does someone survive in all these areas in terms of production?
Yeah. So if you've noticed, government has deliberately removed duty on technologies, especially solar related, if it's the panels or other things that relate to solar.
Why is it still expensive?
Yeah, because anyway, maybe it's because we don't produce those things in the country, and we are depending on imports for most of those technologies. But I think this is where also, alongside the World Food Day, the NRDC, it's called Natural Resources Development College or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So NRDC is coming up with what they're calling the Center of Excellency for Smart Agriculture. So we want to start also engaging the academia, that we don't have to import everything that we are using, in our fields and for our food production, but for colleges and universities that have the capacity, they need to take lead, they need to show us, they need to develop or come up with some of these innovations. And of course, as government has to help to promote some of those technologies. It was quite, impressive to see how the young students, second years, third years at NRDC, have come up with technologies where they can pump water, at a hill, and it's picking, their pipes are picking water.
Without using power.
Without using power, they're just using they're pedaling with their foot, with their feet, and then you see the water go as high as 20 meters up. So those are some of the
and of course
cheaper.
Those are good initiatives.
Exactly. Those are cheaper technologies.
Let's zero in on the theme for this year, Mr. Muhuru, which is Zambia at 30, promoting the right to food for better life and future through consumption. Let's go now deep bit by bit. We break it down. Promoting the right to food. We're talking about food access.
Yes.
Are you really, as government, sure that people have access to food which is safe, clean? Are we there? What are you doing as government in promoting food access?
So thank you very much for that question. So access has a number of dimensions to it. So access could be physical access, it could be economic access, So physical access means that you are living within, or in your area, there is food. And already physical access, I don't think it's a problem in Zambia now, because almost you walk to any space, you find food, you find, the different types of food.
But it's expensive.
Yes, so now the economic access now.
Yeah, economic access.
So the economic access bit comes in. So now with the economic access bit also, the question is what is expensive, like which foods are expensive. If you want to go to ShopRite and get, or any of the bigger stores, and you're trying to get food, you realize that the foods that they'll be selling compared to our local calemblas, the sweet potatoes, you find you get sweet potatoes that can feed your entire family and just fetching 20 kwacha. So it's just the fact that most people have not embraced our own local foods. And by the way, just taking this opportunity, you realize that if you need to enrich the vitamin C intake of your family, most people rush to go and grab an orange or grab an apple from a shop. But if I tell you that the baobab, the mabuyu that you buy maybe for 3 kwacha or 5 kwacha and you break it, has 10 times the amount of vitamin C compared to your conventional fruit that you would pick, that you would pick from the supermarket or all these other places, and which have to be imported.
Mr. Muru, local foods are seen as
inferior.
Yes, inferior. If you are going to be having this traditional foods, you are substandard. You want to be there. We are developed. So if you, maybe at your workplace, I'm sure even with your friends or your colleagues, they'll come with nice food, food. So what are you saying to people that think they want to spend more on this expensive food when there's cheaper food?
Indeed. Yeah. So look at what our friends have done. Our friends have actually, changed the mindset of their population. It's very common that today somebody might rush to a place called maybe Urban Masai and go and eat East African food. Some of those foods will just be the plantain, which could be a local food because they will just grow plantains almost everywhere. It will be plantains and other foods that, would be predominantly known for some of those regions. Go to East Africa. In East Africa, you find even people cutting certain foods on the street. The same sugarcane that we find the women would have put everywhere. In other places, they would even be peeling it and you buy it in smaller chunks, or they're even making gadgets to squeeze off.
You are the same government who are discouraging us from eating from the streets. You mean the women are there, they are selling this, and we are afraid there's cholera, so I can't buy anything on the streets. How do you balance that?
So it's just a matter of food safety. So there are certain foods that you can buy. Of course, even yourself, when you're buying that food, you have to just make sure that this food, the hygiene situation of that food, the conditions are right that, you can grab that food and eat it. So if you buy an orange, for example, you'd have to wash the orange and peel it. If you're buying already cooked food, saved, and dust is passing, exposed to, flies and all the unsanitary condition, then that poses, a risk of contamination and other foodborne diseases. But of course, there are certain foods that can still do the same. You go outside the country, it's very difficult to find Zambian food. The nearest foods you can find that is closer to Zambia would be the Congolese food, because their communities are well organized, they appreciate their food. They would rather eat their food than even go and eat, the exotic foods and all of that. And that's what we also need as Zambia. How do we add value to our food? Now, if you've noticed, the traffic that would go to Matebeto or any of these restaurants that would prepare different Zambian foods is very high. Why? It's because the working Zambian has realized the importance of that food, or the adult Zambian who knows that, junk food or some of these fast foods will lead them to having, diet-related non-communicable diseases, and they're shunning away from all that over-processed and ultra-processed foods.
So the answer you are giving is there has to be value addition, and I'm sure government is trying to add value to these local products so that people tend to appreciate them, as it were. Dear viewer, we are discussing World Food Day, and in studio I'm joined by Mr. Matthews Muhuru from the Vice President's office. Is here to help us interpret the theme for this year, which is promoting the rights to food for better life and future through consumption of local foods. If you are not consuming local foods, that is what Mr. Muhao is helping us understand, that we appreciate our local foods. We'll take a break. On the other side, we'll continue discussing World Food Day. Stay tuned.
For your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your attention. To spark your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your attention. To spark your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your attention. To spark your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Zambia will on Wednesday, 16th October 2024, join the rest of the globe in commemorating the World Food Day at the showgrounds in Osaka. A variety of local foods from across the country will be on display during the commemoration, to be graced by Her Honor, the Republican Vice President, Mrs. Mutale Nalumango. The theme of the World Food Day commemoration is Zambia at 60, promoting the right to food for better life and future through consumption of local foods. The showgrounds activity, which will start at 06 hours to late afternoon on 16th October, will be spiced up by a socio-cultural event designed to link issues among Zambians and promotion of sustainable food production without leaving anyone behind. Come one, come all, and sample out our cherished traditional foods that Zambia has to offer. This message is brought to you by the Office of the Vice President through the National Food and Nutrition Commission with the support from Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
You're welcome back to Sector Spotlight with me, Martin Lutuna, and on set I'm joined by Mr. Matthews Muhuru from the Vice President's office. He's actually Deputy Director for Nutrition and Foods, if you like. Now we have a message on Facebook, and it says Zambia has tremendous opportunity to feed the region demand, with over 67 million in Tanzania, 51 million in Kenya, 45 million in Uganda, 13 million in Rwanda, 31 million Mozambique, 12 million Burundi, and 85 in DRC Congo. We can capitalize on our strengths in maize, soya, wheat, poultry, and more. By investing in infrastructure, we could potentially save the region hundreds of millions of dollars in imports annually. Let's harness our agricultural potential and become the basket of Africa. Is it possible to do this, Mr. Muhuru?
Yes, it is, and you know the listener has put it right.
Yeah.
You know, we have what it takes to feed the region, and beyond that, you're not just looking at the feeding humans, but also looking at the livestock sector. We can produce enough and provide feed, nutrition for their animals and livestock and fish and all of that. So yes, we have what it takes. So we should work towards that.
Yes. Before we went on break, Mr. Muhuru, we were talking about food access and whatnot, and promoting people to consume local products. And of course, it should be 2 years ago when the Vice President did encourage Zambians to eat roller meal instead of breakfast, and she had a backlash from the political powers of parties saying it's cheapening the Zambians going to roller meal and whatnot, because Zambians are for breakfast. So, and I mean, we talked about people going traditional and them being advanced. So the Vice President asking people to go to traditional foods or roller meal, if you like.
Yeah.
Is it true that that is what Zambians want, or do they need it in other ways?
Okay.
Do we need traditional foods, or we're better with these imports, so-called advanced foods?
Yeah. Thank you very much for that question. So, just out of curiosity, what meal do you consume?
I grow my maize, and so I go to the chigayo. I grain my maize. I go to the chigayo. They grind the maize, and so that's a meal. In other words, they call it mugaiwa.
Mugaiwa.
Yes.
Okay. Which one do you tell them? Super roller or breakfast or roller?
It's mugaiwa, which is roller. It's
roller.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
So I asked that deliberately because that's my position as well.
That's what you do
I
as well?
grow my maize, my own maize in my own yard, and I would take my meal to the chigayo and the like. So the problem, I think, as you rightly put it, there was backlash, but that backlash had political connotations. The Vice President was right in her own space. She coordinates food and nutrition matters in the country. We've reached a stage where diet-related non-communicable diseases are claiming a lot of lives. They were saying, I think, if I've not gotten the statistics wrong, 1 in every 3 deaths in the country, especially for the adult population, is diet-related. So that raises concerns. What does consuming over-refined foods like breakfast do? It exposes somebody to diet-related non-communicable diseases such as hypertension, high blood sugar, and things like that, type 2 diabetes, and even diet-related cancers. So that in itself, Zambians should really revisit, the different food groups that they're supposed to be consuming from. I know that also in the past there was mention that, Zambians should eat sweet potatoes, that would be blown out of proportion, and the preference...
the president himself did
exactly
encourage people to eat sweet potatoes.
To eat sweet potatoes and the local food. So the beauty of eating such kind of foods, you realize that the same maize, if you process it into breakfast meal, you are removing, the amount of nutrients that the maize is supposed to provide the human body. You remove the fiber, you remove other nutrients, and all of that. And the over-refined foods now just start, just adding more, fat to people, because the body stores extra energy. In terms of fat, it keeps them and stores them as fat, and then people, would have, challenges of diet-related non-communicable diseases. So eating less refined food is, highly promoted, highly recommended. Eating foods that have been deep fried or over refined or ultra processed, is what is making it common now. It's very common to hear, somebody has collapsed, they had a stroke, or high blood pressure. Everybody knows somebody who has high blood pressure or is, has some.
Mr. Muhuru, you talked about Nigeria, Tanzania, Kenya, these other countries that prioritize local foods, their own food, and of course they seem to be healthy, as it were, and whatnot. So what do you think it would take for us as a nation? Is it a government policy, or what should we do in terms of having people like their traditional food? If we should go back to our own food. Do we close these supermarkets, foreign supermarkets? Do we close them down? Should there be government policy deliberately saying because in these nations that I've talked about, you find that these supermarkets are not there. They've sent them packing. They were there, but because there was no business, the locals never went to buy from there.
Exactly.
That's how they closed it down. But here in Zambia, it's the opposite. And if you look at some of them, they have even boasted to say Zambia has good market because we are buying from them. Whereas you can't buy vegetables on the street from that fellow woman who is struggling to make a living. We leave them, we go to these chain stores to buy expensive
processed foods
when there is local food out there.
Yeah.
What do we do as government?
Yeah, so I'm happy that for the first time, especially starting in 2026, you know, another department within the Vice President's office, which is the national values, you know, department that is looking at national values, is also taking up the issues of food as a national value. So I think the more Zambians relate to food as their culture, as their national value, you know, it will make them, you know, just change their preferences and also their food choices and the like it will sink in that they need to buy more local, they need to consume more local, and that local is actually laka. Yeah, unfortunately we are in a space where even if you take, you know, the same local foods to somebody to eat, if they see something exotic, if they see, you know, the deep fried potato fries and the deep fried chickens coated with a lot of things, they will choose that and they will leave, you know, the healthier option, you know, overlooking what the health impact would be.
So you are saying it should start at family level?
It should start at family level.
The way we are oriented, we think the better foods is when you spend more with your girlfriend or with your wife. You
exactly.
go to these places.
Sure.
The more expensive the food, the better. Whereas, like you said, we have these diseases that are unending. People have these, that some of the diseases we don't even know.
True.
Whereas local foods, they're healthy foods, like you said there. So it means that Zambians have to go back to traditional
We need
foods.
to go back to that because I'll tell you there are certain things that I learned in my childhood that I'm still practicing now, and I have to pass it on, you know, to my children, and they have to pass it on to their children's children. You know, my dad taught me one thing. You only put food on your plate, food that you can finish. If you put too much, he will not let you, you know, go and throw away that food. You have to finish it. So that taught us a lesson to say, let me get a bit, just in case I need more, I can go and get more. But we have situations where, you know, we have a lot of food waste in Zambia. Zambia, despite struggling with food, the amount of food that we lose to food waste and food loss is quite high for certain season of foods.
The more you waste, the richer you are. Isn't what people say? Food, just throw it away. Then you know that
it's a sign of wealth.
It's the wealth of abundance.
Very true. That is a very, you know,
wastage, according to you?
Yeah, it's wastage is a very, you know, like, look at the Bible. If you're a Christian like me, you'd realize that when Jesus fed the people, what did he say? He asked his disciples to go and pick whatever had remained, and they used all of that. So already, even from our Christian background, we should know that God does not like being wasteful. So even the food that you get, your food bins should not be full of food simply because somebody ate half and they couldn't eat, you know, beyond that, they go and dump it, forgetting that tomorrow is the same family. That will be...
Mr. Mohoro, due to time, I think we have a lot to discuss. I'm not satisfied about this topic of food. We'll arrange another day where we'll come and conclusively talk about local foods.
Sure. No, I'm always available.
We can appreciate that. Your closing remarks while we end this program.
Yeah. So just to remind the Zambians out there that today is World Food Day, and of course, with looking at the theme, everybody has a role to play in ensuring that we are food and nutrition secure at household level. Let us get those backyard gardens active. Let's plant different vegetables, a bit of things that we might need, if it's tomatoes, some onions, some vegetables, and if we even have enough space to keep some chicken, some rabbits, or something else to complement our diets. I think that is going to go a long way. We would deal away with all these you know, malnutrition cases that we face. But also just reminding everybody that today is also a day of reflection. Let us rethink, let us replan, let us relook at our own local and indigenous foods as a country.
Wonderful. There you have it, viewers. We were discussing World Food Day, the theme of the year being Zambia at 60 and promoting food and national security, as it were, access to food. That is a right to food. People should have a right to food and not to be wasted around, as it were. And I was joined by Mr. Matthews Muhuru, Deputy Executive Officer, National Food and Nutrition Commission from the Office of the Vice President. I've been your host. My name is Martin Lutuna. Until next time, bye-bye.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
Make it that as we bring you insightful and meaningful conversations.
To spark your attention.
Sector Spotlight shines another bright light into your homes this season. Sector Spotlight. Sector Spotlight.
By beaming into various sectors that are impactful to our growth as a nation,
From energy,
mining,
transport,
construction,
agriculture,
entertainment,
banking,
and health.
make it